Hi there, and welcome to our Facebook Live feed. I'm Andrea Backman, Provost and Chief Academic Officer at Strayer University, and we're here today to talk about personal branding on social media. And I am joined today by Keisha Hawkins and Margie Decker. Keisha is one of Strayer University's business faculty members, teaches in both the undergraduate and graduate programs, and is a working professional in her field.
Yes.
And Margie Decker leads our career services at Strayer University. So I'm delighted to be here today. Hopefully you'll be able to take away some tips that you can immediately apply in your own social networking experiences. There's a lot to think about as you're thinking about your social media profiles, correct?
Yes.
Correct. And so there are things to think about, for example, consolidating social media.
Absolutely.
Cleaning up your social media. What advice do you have for people to continually think about refreshing what's out there for the world to see?
Thank you, Andrea. If I may, great introduction. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. One thing that I would recommend, as you mentioned, consolidating those accounts is quite important. Oftentimes, we do have multiple accounts, and they have repetitious information. So if you have a personal account, that's great. But if you also have that personal account, and you're using it for career readiness, you want that personal account separate from your professional account, correct? Check your privacy settings, right?
Absolutely.
Make certain those private posts are actually listed as private.
You all know what we're talking about.
You all know what we're talking about, right? Check your friends and family's posts as well, because they are representing you.
Right, and social media, why is it important? We live in a digital world.
Absolutely.
Whether you think you have a brand or not, you do.
You do.
It may be the invisible brand, but you have a brand.
Yes.
And the thing that I think is incredibly important is that it's not just about job searching. Some of you may say, oh, well, I have a job, I'm not looking, right? But the important thing is about professional development.
Absolutely.
You may get selected for a project.
Yes.
There are lots of different reasons why social media is terribly important.
Absolutely.
So, as we start to talk about it and sort of sit back and think about the things that we're going to talk to you about today and say, is that me? Have I checked my privacy settings lately? Things change in the digital world all the time. So at least from a recruiting perspective, it used to be that people looked for jobs.
Yes.
Today, it's jobs are looking for people.
That hidden market,
Right.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. As Margie mentioned, you absolutely want to make certain that although today you may not seek employment, what about a year or two from now, something unexpected happens? We know what that means, right? You want to make certain that that account is perfectly set up already, because you may not think about that in a couple of years. So,
Yeah, I think the big takeaways for this question are that check your privacy settings, make sure that what you want the world to see, the world can see,
Yes.
and what you may not want the entire world to see, you make sure you make private.
make those
And
selected.
Correct. And the other thing is to make sure that you're continually refreshing your sites, because people are looking. Your friends may be looking, your families may be looking, but prospective employers may be looking as well. So thank you. Great tips.
Thank you.
People often think about social media and social networking as interchangeable and the same thing.
Absolutely.
What are the differences?
If I may,
Sure.
for me and from my past experiences, social media is that tool. It's a tool where individuals can upload information themselves directly and to engage others into a subject matter. Whereas social networking is that medium where you creating a buzz about a subject. Right? Anything else?
Yeah, I think in terms of social media networking, you're really talking about making sure you're participating. It's
That
not just
engagement.
that you're taking away or you're asking people for a job. People think, oh, if I have a LinkedIn account, I can ask somebody for a job. It's not about that. It's participating in your industry, in the conversation that you have, right?
Absolutely.
So whether you have a Twitter account, you're learning about your field, what are the hot topics, what are the trends. All of those are critical components in terms of networking.
Absolutely. And if I may, thank you. The term networking, some people get so fearful when they think about the word networking. I have students often asking, Dr. Hawkins, what can I do to overcome my shyness? They'll tell you. Networking is a simple conversation, right? Just engage, be forceful, but not too direct, right? And just reach out, look at other people's websites, their Facebook pages, Twitter accounts, look at their sites. And if you all share the same interests, I definitely recommend individuals reaching out to those others to say, hey, is it okay if I befriend you, and how can we remain in contact so that I can get that additional information?
Absolutely.
Yeah, professional networks, social networks are so important. And for those people that you mentioned who are extremely shy or introverted, you need to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and make sure that you are connecting with people in your professions,
Like-minded.
who are like-minded, who have like interests. It can be incredibly powerful for your career.
Yes. Totally
And if you're
agree.
at the very beginning and you don't even have a Twitter account, for example, go to YouTube, watch a video about how to create one, how to use it, or ask your friends. I mean, that's the part that I love about the digital world that we live in. You have instructions digitally.
For everything.
For everything.
For everything.
So even if you're not an expert, go out there and check it out and begin the process.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and Strayer University Career Services can also be helpful to you as you're thinking about building your personal brand
Absolutely.
and ways to position yourself in the marketplace.
Yes.
So that's actually one thing that I wanted to ask the both of you about. You know, it's not just you on your social media sites, I think. I want to ask you this question. It is your friends.
Absolutely.
It is the brands that you follow. It is the people you follow and who follows you. And how important is it for our audience to be thinking about the all of the social media, not just the person, but everything that surrounds it?
We're talking about cyberspace now, cyberland, right? And if I could give some recommendations, I absolutely ensure that who's on my page are representing me. Margie talked earlier about the brand. Andrea talked about the brand. I need individuals who are in my circle to represent me. If they are not representing you in the light you want to project, you may want to hide their page and set privacy settings for their information. Your handler, make certain that your handler is professional.
And what do you mean just for the audience?
Just for
handler.
the definition of a handler, your name. Have some sort of reference to your full name in your name tag, such as mine is Dr. Keisha Hawkins. I don't think your professional employer wants to see your handler being Party Girl 2018. Okay, so you may want, right? So you may want to certainly check that out. It's okay if your friends are that way, but make certain that their posts are representing you in the light you want to project.
Great advice. Great advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say is know who you are, right? Before you can begin this whole process that we're talking about, you have to know who you are and what you want. And you have to recognize the three big medium when we're talking about Twitter, we're talking about LinkedIn, we're talking about Facebook. Those are the three big ones we're talking about. So who are you on each of those, and how does that work? So you have to make that call. So for example, for me, Facebook is private. I really do not use that for networking, for school purposes. That's mine and mine
Your
alone.
space.
Right. For Twitter and for LinkedIn, I am my professional self. So everything that I do on those two accounts, I'm following companies. I am retweeting information professionally. I'm not retweeting what my son from college has sent me. You know, those are the kinds of things I know separately what I want to do with each of them. So if you're at the beginning part, you need to think about that. And secondly, if you already have just a personal one, perhaps creating a second
I
one.
was just about to say that because you mentioned not forwarding or passing on or retweeting personal comments or quotes. So you may want to have two accounts.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it is really, really good advice. I think one of the big takeaways is if you're thinking about LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, think about who you are on each of those sites and who you want to be to the external world, and then make sure that you go back to each of those sites and project yourself in the appropriate way and lock down what you want to be personal just for your friends and personal networks.
Yes.
So that's a really great tip.
And you know, Andre, there's some really cool tools out there. So, for example, scrubber.social, you know, that is an excellent tool. It's free. There's also a premium edition, but you can scrub and it pulls up all the profanity, all the drug or alcohol references, and it pulls up pictures. So it's not going to get everything on an account, but if you use it, it at least takes out and it eliminates, it allows you to delete it.
Yeah.
And that's a great one.
Yeah,
And
that's
thank you for that, because we've spoken in the past. Now, not everyone's familiar or comfortable with different types of media. So if you don't feel comfortable going to look up Scrubber, think about the accounts you've actually visited in the past. It used to be myspace.com, right? Look at those accounts. Think about what you've posted out there and go scrub those, right? Make certain that you still have that professional persona being displayed.
Yeah, I was just going to say one of the interesting things to do, and I do it often, and it's not an egotistical thing to do, okay, but is Google yourself. So Google
Absolutely.
yourself and look at both the stories that come up, the videos that come up, and the photos that come up.
Yes.
And make sure that you're comfortable with what's out there. It's a
Absolutely.
really interesting thing to
Important
do
to
every
do.
once in a while.
Right.
You may be surprised at what you find.
And it's amazing too, there are tools like, I mean, for example, there's brandyourself.com. So Brand Yourself allows you to actually predict what will be seen on your Google. So if you Google yourself and you're using brandyourself.com, and there's a free and a premium version, it allows you to sort of rank order what you want to be seen first. It's a really
Good to
interesting.
know, because I was just telling Keisha before our session here that there is a photo that's out
Right.
there of me like 5 years ago that a former employer took of me, and it's awful, and I can't get rid of it. So now I'm going to go find that. Thank you.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you. So as someone who taught writing for many, many years, I am sort of obsessed with people who put forward bad writing, and I think it can be somewhat appalling. But that aside, when you're in Twitter and you only have so many characters and you're being kitschy in Facebook, what's the thinking today on using standard writing or proper writing on social media?
Well, if I may, I think that's okay to use the shorthand writing depending on the account you're actually utilizing. However, be tactful. Be reminded of who may see this, right? Leave out the vulgar. Leave out the double consonants, because your profession is particularly in writing. If your potential employer goes to look at your site and see that you can't complete a complete sentence, I may not pick you for that job, right?
Yeah, and I think our worlds, Andrea, have sort of come where we used to have a personal life and a professional life, and now we come very, very close. So when grammar, whether it's in written or oral delivery, is wrong, you've got potentials that you're friends with that may consider you for a professional opportunity, that all of a sudden they go, oh, she speaks really badly, or he writes terrible, and they're not going to even consider it. So that is really important, to go to the root cause and think about your grammar.
Absolutely.
And ask a friend.
Absolutely.
Ask a friend to say, how do I sound? Lots of times people don't want to offend each other, and they don't want to say, you don't know what a past participle is.
Right.
You don't know how to answer that without making a mistake, and that's really important.
Margie, I'm going to call you on something.
Oh,
I
no.
don't think it matters if you know what a past participle is.
But say it correctly.
Okay, in case you're wondering what that is, I don't think it matters.
No.
But
Let's speak.
Just
yes,
basic
I mean, what we
sentence.
know at Strayer, we study a lot about what employers want from graduates, and
Yes.
one of the top things that employers seek from graduates is the ability to communicate. That's orally and in written form. So you don't have to be boring in your writing. It's just be careful about what you're
Yeah,
writing.
that's right.
out.
Yes.
Okay.
If I could ask, my student population will confirm that I teach that. We've got to make certain that we know how to communicate. We've got to make certain that we know how to represent and present, because we have no idea when we're going to be called to do so.
Right.
And I tell them often, even a simple email at the office makes a difference.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
Okay.
What about the dreaded resume and keeping your resume up to date? I mean, LinkedIn is really a site now where people build their resumes on LinkedIn, although I'm often asked for, when someone's coming to see me for an interview, they still bring a formal resume.
Absolutely.
Or we require
That's
them
what
to
I
do
was
it. So what's your thinking on still the formal resume?
That's absolutely what I was going to say. Definitely have your resume. It's already posted. It's already public. But you do want to go in prepared. And being prepared is having a hard copy, because most hiring managers are going to ask you, did you have a hard copy, if they don't have one.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that even though I said that our worlds are coming closer together and there's overlap in those things, follow what's the business standard for resumes today. You still have your social media where you have a lot more flexibility to brand yourself, but certainly within the context of a resume, how long it is, and what pieces you're trying to present are still very, very important. Our world is made up of a lot of small and mid-sized employers.
Absolutely.
So the resume is not dead, right? Small and mid-sized employers, they are not as on top of the digital world, and so they still use that. And if you think about the percentage of individuals that are working for smaller companies, it's really important that we do that piece right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What about headshots? What about having the appropriate photograph to accompany yourself on social media, and maybe different photographs for each of the different social media outlets?
Absolutely. We talked about this
Yes.
before as
Yes.
well. Having a headshot doesn't necessarily cost anything, right? However, make certain that it's quality. Some of us use our cell phones to take those pictures. That's okay as long as it's quality picture, right? And I often say depending on the purpose, but it's a professional headshot. So from below your neck, or sometimes right midway of your body, right? We don't need to be having a bar shot where we're that's not professional. You want to project what you want others to perceive about you.
Sure, and you don't want to crop, right? So you don't want to crop a picture, so you can see a hand on your
Right.
shoulder or something like that. Either get the right lighting, and certainly from the shoulders up, and then and really, if you have to, there are JCPenney's. I mean, there are lots of places out there that
Inexpensive.
are,
Yes.
$10, $15 Walmart, that you could go and set up, and go ahead and get a $15, $20 picture that's going to serve you well.
Right, and don't keep it up there for 30 years.
Yes.
Like people in those books, when you look
Yes.
at the author and the author is really not. I mean, just make it current, make it real, make it authentic.
Authentic.
I mean, I think if I could add something about, I was sitting here during this presentation thinking, gosh, I should have taken my Fitbit off. And then I looked, I was like, oh, Keisha has a Fitbit on. Oh, Margie has one. Like, this is my authentic self.
Absolutely.
And I guess if I could wrap before we may have some questions, I think,
Yes.
from folks who are listening in, is to be your authentic self.
Absolutely.
In your photographs, in your social media outlets, but your authentic self, knowing who your audience is.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Absolutely.
make sure that who you are as a human being is that you kind of clean it up for your professional audience in a way that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay, I do think that we have a couple of questions before we
Okay.
close. And I'm sorry, we're writing them on the board, the questions that are coming in through our social media site. And so the first one is, what's your favorite channel? Social media
I'll start
channel.
with that one. It used to be LinkedIn for me. I was an early adopter of LinkedIn 2007, I think, and I've seen it grow and change tremendously. I was late to the party on Twitter, but I find Twitter fascinating of how fast it moves, and the fact that I can follow companies and I can see trends. So Twitter for me is definitely my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I must answer, one of my former students actually said to me just yesterday, you told us, and I remember so much about what you said, but you told us you don't have Twitter, you don't have Facebook, and I did not.
Oh, wow.
I did not until one of my former deans told me, you've got to create a LinkedIn account. Absolutely, and it served me well. So my favorite channel today is got to be LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's got to be LinkedIn. It does connect me with former friends, right? And not just in the professional world, but what I do have out there is definitely a presentation of my professional self.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
about you, Andrea?
Well, I mean, I guess I have to say Facebook, right? Because you guys.
Yes.
I actually am sort of Facebook addicted, and one of my friends gave up Facebook for Lent. I was like, I can't do that. Forget about it. But what's interesting about Strayer is we actually have a Strayer at Work site,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
Facebook for our employees. So it's a
Internal.
closed site,
Yes.
and it's really fabulous because
Yes.
it allows us to get to know each other. We're dispersed across the country, and so Facebook for me is it's a little bit of an addiction. It's fun. I might go change some privacy settings later.
Yeah.
too. I don't know.
Andrea, something new that Facebook is doing, which is fascinating. In December, they added a jobs component. So they're starting the
Interesting.
infancy rival in terms of that. So a lot of companies are actually doing it for free, and they're putting their jobs. So I think in the next couple of years, we are going to see more of a jobs focus on Facebook.
Very, very interesting, yeah. There is another question that came in about what about having two accounts? Two accounts for Twitter, two accounts for Facebook. Why would people do that? Do people do it?
I think we touched on
Yeah.
it briefly earlier. Absolutely have two accounts, one personal, one professional, so that you don't necessarily have to be forced to cross the avenues. But I absolutely would encourage anyone who has the time, of course, to create those accounts, because oftentimes I've heard, well, I don't have time to go set up a second account. So if you're interested, having that separation, personal account and professional account, I absolutely would encourage it.
Yeah, and I think it all depends. Like for me personally, I started with Twitter without anything. So I didn't have a personal Twitter when I started. So I started professionally, and I've never added a personal Twitter. So for me, that was an easy do. With Facebook, I like that to be mine and mine alone. So in terms of locking that down. And then LinkedIn, you know what it's going to be. It's going to be everybody.
Right, exactly.
And I do have 2 Twitter accounts. I have a professional Twitter account and I have a personal Twitter account. I have 1 Facebook account and 2 LinkedIn accounts.
Oh my
Yes.
Lord. Yeah, that's a little much.
If you don't
for
have
me.
any yet, you can start small.
Yes,
You
you
could
can.
pick one and start with one. But and the last question that we have for today is, what resources does Strayer University offer around resume building and career building?
Excellent. We have a great, really a cadre of information for our students and for alumni. So we have Optimal Resume, which has portfolio and resume writing, cover letter. These are all templates, easy to do, that they can come in and adapt. We also have an interactive interviewing tool, which is awesome. We also have a lot of video. As our world goes video, we know that our students want quick and easy answers. So we have webinars, we have quick answers via questions. And then, of course, on our campuses, we have Learning Resource Center assistants and managers that are there to help students. So with enrolled students, they can also get an online resume critique. So we have lots of opportunities through iCampus, University Career Center. It's on the left, it's in that margin, easy to follow. On Blackboard, we have our own tab.
Yes.
Right there, one step, you're in Blackboard, use it. And for the alumni, we invite them. We are excited about that. We are looking and excited about building relationships for better mentorships and opportunities to connect you with students.
And thank you, Margie. And if I could add, I want to speak on behalf of the faculty here at Strayer. We are absolutely here for our students. I, in fact, on Wednesday was just asked to review another resume. I review resumes
Great
for
point.
students. I absolutely can encourage you to reach out to your professors, because a lot of my colleagues do this. It's not just me. So absolutely know that we're here for you, not just for your informational knowledge in your academics, but absolutely to help you better yourself and get an improved resume.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of where I'd like to close, if I could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously, Keisha, thank you, Margie, for your time. A couple of highlights is that we at Strayer University realize that you're not just here for an education, you're here to grow your careers.
Absolutely.
Most of you are here to grow your careers, inspire your family members and your communities, and it's our responsibility to help you think through some of these things.
Absolutely.
And so I love the last point that you made about reaching out to your faculty, because faculty love to, if I may,
Engage.
I'm going to use
Yes,
if I
absolutely,
may,
yes.
to review resumes, to
Absolutely.
do letters of recommendation for those students and
Absolutely.
alumni who've put forward great effort. So we think about ourselves as partners with you in helping to grow your careers.
Absolutely.
And we're so glad that you were able to spend some time with us today. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.